What is up? Welcome to another episode of Kombat Kingdom. I'm not sure what number we're at, but I'm sure we'll put it up later. We have some fights, as always, to talk about. I hope everybody is doing good. I think it's been 2 weeks since we've done one of these. It feels like a lifetime. But yeah, I think we had a break, didn't we? Yeah. Yes, and I'm happy to be doing it. We're stuck on lockdown here in New Zealand, so something to occupy my fucking mind. And we have plenty to talk about, as I said. We'll get into the fights now in a minute. Just get my laptop to fucking... Yeah, as always, I hope everybody's doing well. Please continue to support the channel as best you can. I know, as I've said a million times, we're kind of quiet at the moment with just the one video a week. But that will change. It's in time. It's coming, I promise. Just working on a lot of stuff, as I said. I've said that a million times, so I'm not going to say it again. But... yeah, just keep supporting us, keep the lights on, as they say. But yeah, subscribe if you haven't already. That's what gets her, that's what we need most, is subscriptions to the channel. It's easier to get guests on and stuff like that. And again, yeah, we are in discussion, we're working on some extra stuff behind the scenes. I'm in talks with some exciting people that might be willing to join me in future projects. That's all I'm going to say for now, but yeah, we have a fight card to get into, a fun fight card at that, which was kind of flew under the radar because it was a small fight card. Cannonier versus Gastelum. So we'll break down the card and we'll have a look forward to what's happening next week. So yeah, I hope everybody is doing well and staying sane, particularly over this side of the world. Going back into what's looking like is going to be a long lockdown again. Cases are just climbing, unfortunately, but I think at the same time we've been kind of lucky here too. So listen, just keep your heads up, keep your mind busy, or sleep. That's what I do. Sleep a lot. Hibernate. Shut up. I've been sleeping more than God, it's been nice. I just want a nap. Even right now I'd like a nap. But anyway, it's better than eating. Normally I eat, now I'm sleeping, so I think sleeping is a bit better. Anyway, that's enough. But yeah, just stay sane, guys. Exercise if you can. Wear your masks and all that shit. I know, it's annoying to be hearing, but unfortunately, this thing is real, so just stay sane, stay safe, wash yourselves, smelly fuckers. So anyway, getting into the fights, we have the prelim. So yeah, this was kind of, I suppose, billed as a small card, but God, the fights were really good from top to bottom. I actually have more notes than I've ever had on fights for this card. Well, 2 pages, not that many, like. Who the fuck do I think I am? So yeah, we'll look through them here. So was this the right lineup? God.
What?
I don't feel like this lineup is off, but anyway, we'll go through it. Never mind. So we had Austin Lingo versus Saldana. Saldana, who was one of the, if I'm not wrong, he came from Dana White's Contender Series. The same night that, I think it's the same night as the other guy on the fight card. What's his name? Bahamundes. God, if I'm right, my brain is good. I think they both came from the same Contender Series event. But very exciting fight. Saldana is very exciting. There was a lot of little things he was doing that were fun. He's a very fun, very exciting striker. He just defensively was very, very risky at times. What I tried to do for some of the fights, it's hard, but I try to put it on mute so I don't hear the commentators and you don't kind of get your own, you can make up your own mind of how the fight was going. But I listened to a little bit of the commentary on this one and I had picked it up anyway, but they were pointing it out as well. Thankfully, Saldana would lean very heavily to his right a lot, kind of like similar to what a boxer would do. When their opponent is coming in, they lean to the side and into the opponent, because obviously there's not much you can do, then you can't punch in the back of the head or anything like that. So defensively it's good in boxing. It's insanely risky in MMA. And how Austin Lingo and his team didn't get a read on it, I don't know, because he'd done it continuously. I'd be shocked. Either if he doesn't fix it, somebody's going to get a read on that in his next fight. Because if I can see it, you can be sure that the fucking coaches out there are seeing it. But it was a fun fight. Lingo was coming on stronger as the fight went on. The fun thing about Saldana is he changes up. He never throws the same strike. Everything's very exciting, very different all the time. Just I don't know whether his cardio was a little off, but Lingo did start to apply pressure. That seemed to be part of the game plan, was to try and take whatever Saldana was throwing and then bring the pressure as he got tired. But he did have a slight foot injury. Saldana, I believe, was his left foot, which he was kicking with a lot, and he had mentioned that. To be fair to him, he didn't really show it to his opponent, but he did say it to his cornerman, and yeah, he still threw the kick and stuff like that. So I don't know if that hindered him throughout the fight, but he was still, like I said, still able to throw it. And when the adrenaline is flowing anyway, he wouldn't have given a shit. It's just in between rounds, I'd say he felt it more than anything. But yeah, the main thing was, for me, the heavy pressure from Lingo is what eventually won him the fight. I think it just tired out Saldana a bit. In particular, I think coming into halfway through the second round or something like that, you really notice how tired he got. And just that leaning to his right, it was an insane read. And whoever he's fighting next, they're going to pick up on that heavily. Unless he is changing. Surely, with the commentators talking about it, I'm sure when he re-watches his fight and stuff like that, he will pick up on it. If not, that is going to pay. He's going to pay for doing that in the future. But I find him quite an exciting fighter when he's on his game. Just, I suppose, a couple of, with the injury, the pace that Lingo put on him, I think it all just went against him. But still, an exciting fight, an exciting fighter, an exciting addition to the UFC. And then we had Brian Boom Kelleher versus Domingo Pilarte. Kelleher winning via decision. Mostly wrestling. It was his wrestling that won the fight from. He was mixing it up quite well, but yeah, a good win for Kelleher there. And then next we had Bay Maleki versus, hope I get this name right, Josiane Nunes. It's Nunes anyway, the first name's quite hard to pronounce. But Maleki was obviously KO'd in this fight, but I really thought she should have used the reach a lot more. Nunes is strong, stocky, short. She has that kind of style. Oh my god, the other fighter I'm trying to think of, what's her name? Why does this happen every time I do a podcast? Every time. She knocked out Rose Namajunas with a slam. So anyone that knows MMA knows what I'm talking about. The name will not come to me. But she knocked out Rose Namajunas with a slam. So Nunes has a similar style to her. That kind of, shoulders high, arms tight and head movement. Not a lot of movement, but literally just moving the hips. But strong, super powerful. I believe she had missed weight previously a couple of times. I vaguely remember that, or her DC saying it or something. But yeah, Maleki was so much bigger. I just didn't think she used her reach well enough at all, and she kind of allowed. You could see it early that Maleki was kind of trying to use what they had was a game plan, was probably move and keep the length. But as soon as she got up against the cage and Nunes had closed off any movement for her, she caused her a lot of problems. Yeah, sorry, I'm just reading my notes. Yeah, so yeah, just that's all it was. It was the heavy pressure. She kept coming forward. I thought if Maleki used some up kicks, push kicks, used her jab a bit, she was much bigger. But Nunes' power just ended the fight. It was a nasty knockout. Especially with a girl that tall, to try and get inside and use. It was a great performance, and she is strong. She's built like a fire hydrant. She's small, stocky, super strong. If she can get her weight under control, like I said, I believe she's had some issues in the past. But again, fun fight. But Maleki could have used her reach a little better, in my opinion. But again, another good fight. Moving on, we had William Knight versus Fabio Scherrant, I think is how you pronounce his name. Again, another fun fight. These are big boys. Scherrant William Knight is fucking huge, even for that division. his back is insanely big. And I believe it was on somewhere on Twitter or something like that. Someone said like he's got insane numbers with his bench and his I think it's his squat and stuff like that. He's insane numbers in the gym. Again, technique wise, not the best. He was coming back with his head raised a lot. The commentators were saying that too. Just with his chin raised in the air, and Scherrant was getting very close with some of those strikes. But the power of Knight is what won him the fight again. He just landed kind of a... It wasn't even a legit strike. He didn't even get his hand straight enough or hooked enough. It was like an in-between, and he caught him more on the side of the hand. But when you have that kind of power, that's all you need, just that slight connection. And he switched the lights off for Scherrant. Powerful dude. Insane shape. Like, even go up to heavyweight, he's still huge. Short-ish, but built like a fucking tank. I can't imagine what the dude lifts. But a great finish in the end. Like I said, technique-wise not great, but like, goes down as a win on his record, so who gives a shit. So good win for William Knight. That was a fun fight too. Again, like, this is all the prelims, like, so it was a fun card all round. Then we had Roosevelt Roberts versus Ignacio Bahamundes. Yeah, Bahamundes coming off the same, I believe the same contender series as Saldana. Actually, they were both on the same night as Carlos Ulberg from City Kickboxing. That's why I remember. They all came from the same contender series event or night, whichever way you want to call it. So that's like, it goes to show what that show is doing for the UFC. They are getting exciting additions from it. Bahamundes has been the top of the bill for me. He's a super exciting fighter. Takes a lot of damage, but very fun to watch. He's that kind of Diaz kind of way about him, where he'll take a lot of shots but keeps coming forward, throws some exciting strikes. I mean, what a way to finish this fight. With like, yeah, it says 5 seconds left here. I'd say there was probably even less. But 5 seconds ago, he throws a spinning heel kick and catches Roberts clean right on the end of it. Such a insane technique after pushing the pace like that for so long, taking a lot of shots. Roberts is landing a lot of jabs. But what's cool is, for Bahamundes, it shows that even in the last 5 seconds, he was trying to win the fight. He wanted to do something to win, to throw the spinning heel kick. It's, the Hail Mary to try and catch him, and it worked. So timed so well, right on the end of it, full length. All insane. Like, that could be your knockout of the year, to be honest. It's fighting at the weekend is Barbosa, similar to Barbosa. That's how many times we've seen Edson Barbosa spinning heel kick shown on highlight reels and stuff like that. This is up there with it. Barbosa's a little nicer looking, but I mean, you're talking about one of the best kickers in the game. But Bahamundes to do it with 5 seconds to go, wow, it's insane. Such a fun fighter to watch, and a massive addition to the UFC. Again, the way he fights, not sure will he get too long of a career out of it, but that's the way he fights, and it works for him. Because, again, he puts a heavy pace, just keeps coming. He's a big, long dude as well. But, yeah, the technique of that kick was just insane. I must have watched it about 20 times. Caught Roberts right on the end of it. But, yeah, great performance from him. Another guy, keep an eye out for Bahamundes. I think he's had 3 fights, including the Contender Series one. Lost his last one, I believe. So he won on the Contender Series, lost his debut in the UFC, and he's won this one. But all 3 fights very exciting, very fun. Just takes 2 to give 1. Well, that's not necessarily true, because his volume is very good, but I mean, he will take shots to unload his own. But yeah, fun fighter, really, really fun fighter. And he was the one out of this entire card that I was looking forward to watching, because I have watched his last 2 fights. But it'd be interesting to see, again, going back to Saldana, interesting to see how he corrects things in the next fight. It's just I'm kind of keeping an eye on those 2, because they're new guys to the division, to the UFC. But yeah, what a performance from Bahamundes. Then moving on, we had Sasha Palatnikov versus Ramis Brahimaj. Brahimaj with a submission win there. Good performance from him. It's moving on into the main card. It's one thing I forgot to check, which was the performances. Yeah, so Bahamundes received a bonus for his knockout, which is only right. But I'm just looking, for some reason they didn't award anyone fight of the night, which is kind of weird. Why not give it to somebody? I don't understand. I don't understand the UFC sometimes. We'll get to it a bit later, but I'm sure a lot of people have heard the stuff with Cannonier talking about how he's needing to fight again soon because he's broke. I don't know. I'll get to it later, but I just think it's ridiculous that they couldn't award somebody fight of the night, give them some sort of a fucking bonus. But anyway, Bahamundes received a performance of the night, naturally enough. William Knight received one, and Nunes as well received one, which is good. Good for those guys. Also was, which we'll get to in a few minutes, Alexandra Pantoja, which definitely earned two, which is actually the next fight we're going to get on to, so good timing. Just looking at my notes. Yeah, so this fight, out of all the fights, I said earlier, that the guys I was keeping an eye out for were the new guys, Saldana, Bahamundes, them guys. But this one for me was going to be fight of the night, I thought. Pantoja versus Roosevelt, and it didn't disappoint. It was a very fun fight. That division, for a long time, has gotten so much shit because it's the flyweights such a smaller division and all that shit. But they're so much fun to watch. A lot of these guys coming up, Pantoja, who's not necessarily coming up, he's been doing it quite a while. Roosevelt, and you feel like that. As good as Moreno is, he's got so many challenges that are coming for him. Like the fight between him and Roosevelt was fun. Roosevelt, Kai France, that was a fun fight. You got, there's just a lot of fun fights there. It's becoming a fun division to watch. And I see, which I've discussed on the podcast before, I see a massive improvement, which I think, as I said, happens when you have someone leading the division like a Mighty Mouse, Demetrius Johnson, who's so good, nobody can touch. I think everybody else coming up in that division, or who already are in the division, or about to come into it, or entering the division, or new to the division, they have to lift their game so much to try and challenge a guy like him. And what you're left with is this division then full of fucking animals. You see it with like lightweight, you see it with a lot of the divisions are fun now, like featherweight as well. I think that happens as well because of who they're chasing. They're chasing these great fighters, they're trying to become as good as them. And I believe that's kind of what's happened here. A lot of these guys, their games have just improved so much and they've got a bit of everything. And I mean, the fights are such high pace. Like the grappling exchanges between these two was so much fun to watch. Roosevelt is always a fun fighter, but Pantoja's grappling then is insane. Pushes a heavy pace, both guys. Roosevelt is one of my favourite fighters to watch in that division. Along with, as I said, a lot of the time Moreno is one of my favourite fighters in general. But going into this fight, you kind of knew Pantoja had that advantage in the grappling. It's his bread and butter, it's what he's really good at. And this is just the way the game played out. There was a lot of fun scrambles where Roosevelt would kind of get out. He had him, I don't want to say he had him in trouble, but he had him in, I think it was a toe hold or a knee bar at one point. Pantoja didn't necessarily look in trouble, but it was just to give him something to think about. Just the fun scrambles, but eventually Pantoja sunk into submission and got the win. But it leads to a fun question or a fun discussion or fun possibility of Pantoja challenging Moreno. And Pantoja has beaten Moreno twice already, one on the Ultimate Fighter and one in the UFC. So that makes for, a fun upcoming fight. If it happens, he has a lot of challengers there, Moreno, so but just adds another element to that division, another fun side of it, A guy who he figured Roosevelt would be another, he figured Moreno was going to see him again, but maybe now he's kind of been put down the pack a little bit, put to the back of the queue a little bit, and you've got Pantoja now making a stake in his claim. So interesting, fun fights, fun division, and a good call out from Pantoja. Respectful, obviously, but nevertheless, makes for a fun fight if it happens. Excuse me. Then we had, after that, Vince Pichel versus Austin Hubbard, which this was a fun fight too. Yeah, they had like fun over and back. Pichel with his heavy pressure as well. There was good exchanges, good strikes and stuff like that. There was a kind of an exchange towards the end of the fight where both guys just stood in the pocket and exchanged. And yeah, made for a lot of fun. That, again, was another fun fight. There was a few fights on this card that could have been given fight of the night. I don't understand why you would decide not to give it. That's just kind of annoying me a little bit. But yeah, running down, then we had Trevin Jones losing to, his name is going to be so hard, but hey, Sajukub Katramanov. Not too bad. Katramanov. Losing via submission in round 3. Good performance from Katramanov. And then we had Parker Porter versus... See any notes on that? Yeah. Chase Sherman versus Parker Porter. So again, this was also a fun fight. The card is kind of blessed with a lot of fun fights. This one was a little weird in the sense that Chase Sherman, who's a guy who's been doing it a while, just looked a little disinterested at times. In between rounds, his corner kind of had to, I don't want to say wake him up, but kind of had to shake him a little bit to get an answer out of him. And yeah, it just looked a little disinterested at times, and his cardio took a massive hit towards the end of this fight, whereas Parker Porter was putting kind of nice pressure on him, just kept chopping away at him, eventually getting the decision which he had earned. But yeah, my takeaway from that fight was Chase Sherman being a little bit, yeah, I don't know, maybe there's something going on behind that, but just didn't seem so interested. Whether he had a tough camp, I don't know. But yeah, seemed a little disinterested in between rounds and coming out. Like after the first round, he was okay, but then coming out between rounds after that and towards the end of the fight, he just looked. Of course, he looked super tired, which you can get when you go 3 rounds with some heavyweights. But yeah, a little odd, but nevertheless, good win for Parker Porter. And then we had another very, very fun fight. Clay the Carpenter Aguina versus Marco Matson. Again, this was fun. Typical with a Clay Aguina fight. The Marco Matson is kind of, I don't want to call him boring, but he's slightly boring. You kind of know what he's trying to do. He's trying to get you. He's got that, I believe it's Greco-Roman style wrestling. Wants to get you up, get you in the clinch, get you up against the fence, and whether it's trying to take you down or basically wear on you. Whereas you've Clay Aguina, who, has enough cardio to spread out throughout the entire UFC. Always a fun fighter. And he did quite well in this fight. It's just, again, the grappling. Marco Matson, just every time he got a hold of him, he was able to kind of control him up against the fence. Not necessarily a shutout in any way. He was just able to control Guida when he got him up against the fence, but Guida did catch him a few times and was putting that heavy pressure, constant movement. Just a fun fight. I did lean slightly towards Matson on the scorecard. I don't think Guida was super happy, but yeah, I think Marco Matson did kind of clinch it just a little bit. And then I believe he called out Gregor Gillespie. Gillespie was another insane wrestler as well. But yeah, that'll be a fun fight if he gets that. We'll see. I believe Brad Riddell is trying to get the Gregor Gillespie fight because that fight fell apart when they tried in the past. But I mean, how long has Clay Aguina been doing it for? It's insane, and the cardio is still there, the hunger is still there by the looks of it. Just always a fun fighter, an absolute legend. But Marco Matson's going to cause people a lot of problems in that division. Just, you know what he's going to do, you know what he's going to try and do. It's trying to stop him, that's the problem. Yeah, good win for him, and again, a good call out. Fun prospect there. Some fun fights from in that division. And then we move on to the main event. We're getting through that card a little quicker than I expected. But yeah, so with the main event, we had Cannonier versus Gastelum. This was a fun over and back fight. Not anything insane by any means. But looking through the notes, Cannonier started off quite well, I thought. He, in the first round, was throwing a good variety of strikes, leg kicks, high kick, punches, moving a lot. Kind of going by the first round, I was like, okay, this could be a tough night for Gastelum. It wasn't like a 10-8 or anything like that. It just looked like that Cannonier was going to be outpointing him a lot. But Gastelum, typical Gastelum style, started to kind of come back into the fight. His boxing looked really good. Getting caught with a lot of shots at some points, but his 1-2 looked really good. And Cannonier, as I said, mixed up his strikes very well. The only thing is, with Gastelum, I noticed, was he would throw a combination and just briefly leave his head in trouble. Or during the combination, his head would be a target. If Cannonier could time that, and he had a couple of times. But it's just Gastelum's chin is fucking like granite, it's insane. And he did, of course, get dropped in... Which round did he get? I believe it was round 2 or 3. 3, I believe he was dropped. Oh, sorry. Anyway, he got dropped heavily with a right hook from Cannonier. Bounced right back up. But it was a heavy shot and it would have put a lot of other guys out cold. But I thought, yeah, Gastelum was doing well. I wish he would have thrown leg kicks a bit more, because I know he had to take a few as well from Cannonier, but it seemed that every time Gastelum would throw a good leg kick, he would hurt Cannonier. Because sometimes Cannonier's leg was, going with the kick, or you just noticed that he took the leg out from under him a couple of times. Of course, the reach was a big problem for Gastelum trying to get in. But when he did, his 1-2 was crisp when he landed. It was super fast, on the money. I wish he had added leg kicks a little more. By the end of the fight, I had scored it 48-47 to Gastelum, in my opinion. I thought he took it. I thought Cannonier got round 1, Gastelum round 2, Cannonier round 3, and then Gastelum the last 2 rounds. Just my opinion. I thought he just outlanded him a little bit. I know Cannonier had dropped Gastelum twice. Like round 4 was super even, and Gastelum was dropped in that round, but it was kind of a tight uppercut where Gastelum was also kind of going for a takedown. So whether they score, I don't know whether you could score that as a knockdown. He did catch him, but right back up again immediately. It wasn't as clear cut as the earlier knockdown. The earlier one was clear as fucking day, Stevie Wonder could have scored it. He caught a clean right hook, and as it hit him, it looked like he was out, but just typical Gastelum style, bounced right back up. But yeah, it was an even fight. I don't kind of look at it as a robbery, but I do believe Gastelum won, in my opinion. I just thought he outlanded a little more. Again, you could say that I believe he was 0-7 or 0-8 for takedowns, so he tried a lot, but at the same time, he had a bit of control up against the cage at some points, and he did get him down. I think it was in the last round he got him down, and Cannonier was right back up. But you got to score that in terms of, the control. And for me, yeah, there was just those little moments that for me won the fight for Gastelum. But of course, you get dropped twice, that's also the way you look at it. And I know people are going to say, holding somebody against the cage doesn't win the fight, but it does. Okay, it doesn't win a street fight, but it wins this, because you still got to take it as a sport. I know, a lot of people like to say, it's like the whole Nate Diaz argument. If there was 6 rounds in a fight, Diaz would be winning them all, of course, but there isn't 6 rounds. You have 5 rounds, that's it. So if you can't win in 5, then you're not good enough. No offence to Nate Diaz, but I mean, you got to win in 5. It's the same for everybody else. And it's just that argument of holding them up against the cage, but that's control. That's still control. It obviously makes it boring. It's like looking at Marco Matson does the same thing. It may be boring, or you can look at a Khabib. I don't find it boring, but I know some people do. But that is winning the fight. That's control. But anyway, back to this. Again, not a robbery. Happy to see Cannonier win, especially when you hear his post-fight speech. But yeah, it's been a tough run for Gastelum, unfortunately. He's again, I thought he won this fight just slightly, but no, by no means a robbery, anything like that. I could see why people would see it going the other way too. So no robbery whatsoever. It was just a close fight, and both guys deserved a win there. Would have been nice to see them get fight of the night. Not the most fun fight, but again, I'll get on to why. But yeah, I wonder about Gastelum, if not that he looks like he's done or anything like that, but you do wonder that war with Izzy. You kind of wonder if these guys, I always say it, but if they leave a piece of themselves in these fights. I've said that before, that you see it happening. You see it with Dominic Reyes after fighting Jones. What other examples? There's a few examples there where these guys have a war, for 5 rounds, and they just don't look the same. Sometimes it goes the other way. Sometimes you get a guy who'll have a war and it gets the rub off the guy he's fighting, and then goes on a run or a tear or becomes a much better fighter, whatever it may be. But also some guys leave a piece of themselves in the fight. And I mean, Gastelum's fight with Adesanya was insane. So you do wonder about that. Again, he hasn't looked bad. I'm not saying that. It's just you wonder if that's because that little bit can make all the difference at the top of the pile, and that is where Gastelum has been. He's been at the top of the pile. He doesn't fight any easy fights, So you do wonder, but still a great fighter to watch. Like I said, his 1-2 looked great. He maybe a little more leg kicks, a little more takedown attempts. Cannonier did do well to fight a lot of them off, but maybe if Gastelum were pressured a little more with the takedowns. But it's easier said than done, especially when you're the shorter guy. You're trying to get in on Cannonier, who's got that reach. But a good performance from Cannonier. Both guys, their cardio looked really good. And it was a fun fight. It was, again, not going to go fight of the year or anything like that, but it was fun. It was a fun chess match over and back, and their pace was constant throughout the whole fight. I again would love to have seen them get the award for fight of the night, and I keep saying that because obviously in the post-fight interview, Jared Cannonier was asked when does he want to fight again, and he said to DC, well, I'm broke, so as soon as I can I'd like to fight again, which is hard to hear. Now, he did say on Ariel Helwani's podcast that he's not, he gave a very honest answer. He said he's not shitting on the UFC. He said the UFC takes care of me a lot, in terms of fight week and stuff like that. He said, but he was saying how his wife, who works, has to work, which he never wanted. He was saying how he never wanted that. He wanted for the UFC and MMA to pay for everything, but he said he doesn't cover it. He said he looks after his kids. He said he has to go to training at night. His wife has to work full time. He said his mother, who's 70, has to still work. So it's hard when you hear that. You see a guy who's one of the best in the middleweight division of the UFC, and that is a big problem with the UFC at the moment. And I'm hoping it's going to change. The fighters don't get paid enough, and we know that when you look at football or soccer, which some of you like to call it, or American football or baseball or whatever, boxing, the pay is so different. And the UFC is one of the best of it. It's becoming one of the best things to watch out there now. So why isn't the pay structure a little better? Because apparently they do look after their fighters and all that, but the pay needs to be better. You don't like to hear that a guy like Cannonier, whose wife still has to work, mother still has to work, he has to stay home with the kids and all that. It's these guys at the very least, should be able to just concentrate on fighting. I'm not saying they all have the McGregor money, of course not, but they should be able to just focus on training, training as a full-time fighter, which is what they are. But Cannonier was saying he doesn't make some of the pro training sessions because he will either have to pick up his kids or something like that while his wife is working. Again, it's not good. He should be paid a lot better than that. And again, you see tonight, in this event on Sunday, no fight of the night given out. And the UFC could have afforded to just give it to somebody. I know they can't just be handing out money when a guy, but Cannonier was very honest again, saying that he wasn't by no means shitting on the UFC. He said they look after me very much. He said, but I just want to be paid a bit more. which they deserve. It's not good, and there's a lot of those stories coming out. Guys that aren't getting paid well enough, guys who do deserve a bit more. I mean, I know people like talk, McGregor gets paid so well, but McGregor does not get paid what he deserves, and that's a fact. For the eyes he has brought on the UFC and stuff like that, he still doesn't get paid enough. I know people can say, oh, but yes, he has a lot of money, but for what he has done for the UFC, he doesn't get nearly enough. In terms of he likes to say it himself, but he was a massive part in that big 4 billion sale. So, yeah, it'd just be nice to see fighters get paid a little more. It's not nice to hear that. You see a guy like Cannonier, who is one of the best in the business, in a very exciting division. You don't want to be hearing that. You'd like to see them get paid a little better. Or sponsors, let them have their own sponsors, however way you want to do, because they can't even wear the uniform, or they can't even wear their own uniform now. It's just the UFC has done some great things, but they do things wrong by the fighters as well sometimes. But look, these things happen. I'm not going to be someone that's going to change it, but hopefully when you hear stories like this, it'd be nice if maybe someone gets on board to sponsor Cannonier when they hear the story. He said he has no sponsors and stuff like that, so it'd be nice if somebody hits him up as maybe a sponsor, or would be good. But anyway, that's enough. I won't rant it. Looking ahead to next week, of course, we have the big fucking Jake Paul versus Tyron Woodley fight is next. It's a Saturday or Sunday. It might even be fucking Monday here, actually. I'm not sure, because I believe it's Sunday in America. So whenever it is, obviously there's that card. Which, will I watch it? Of course I will. Will I give out about it? Of course I will. But it'll be interesting to watch. I believe Tommy Fury is fighting on that card too. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what Jake Paul can do when it comes against a real, legit fighter. God, if he beats Tyron Woodley, he's not going to go anywhere for a long time. But listen, I'll watch it, and like I said, I am probably going to complain and give out about it. But more importantly, looking ahead to next week's UFC card, we have Barbosa versus Chikadze in the main event, which that is going to be fun. Two very, very good strikers. I'm rooting for Barbosa on that one. But looking at the prelims, we have Mana Martinez versus Guido Canetti. You have Pat Sabatini versus Jamal Emmers. What happened? And then you have JJ Aldrich versus Vanessa Dimopoulos. Darren Stewart versus Dustin Jacoby. That'll be fun. Then you have a Go Grab That Day guest, Sam Alvey versus Wellington Turman, which all of Sam Alvey's fights were usually fun. Then you have Alessio Di Chiricho versus Abdul Razak Al Hassan, and that would be the prelim card. Then moving on to the main card, we have Mahmoud Murdoch versus Jared Mershart. That would be a fun fight, actually. Andrei Petrosky versus Michael Gilmore. Why has those guys not got pictures? Well, you got Kevin Lee versus Daniel Rodriguez. Be a good fight. Finally, Kevin Lee gets a fight. I know he's kind of been struggling with injuries and stuff like that. Then you have Ricky Turkios versus Brady Heistand. Gilbert Urbina versus Brian Battle. Urbina? Or is that Hector Urbina's brother? But that's the co-main. Then we have obviously Giga Chikadze versus Edson Barbosa. That's going to be an insane fight. I hope Barbosa pulls that one off. Barbosa's looked really good lately, as has Chikadze, but but that will be a fun card, fun fight. So that's it for this week, guys. We have no videos at the end of this because I knew I had a lot of fights to get through and a lot of notes to get through, so we'll maybe save some fun videos for next week's one, hopefully. Please, guys, keep supporting the podcast. Keep liking, subscribe more importantly. And as I keep saying, I'm going to keep saying that we have some fun projects coming, I promise. We just, it's taking a little time to work on them, get all the little bits and bobs together. And there will be, as I said, a lot more content coming out eventually. Just at the moment, we're focusing on the MMA right now for the next another few weeks before we reveal our plans. We're going to take over the world. But yeah, please, if you haven't subscribed, guys, please subscribe to the channel. It does help a lot. Share, like, talk about it, all that kind of stuff. I appreciate it, guys, and tune in next week. We'll have another fun podcast. Thank you. I'll grab that day.